about this? I want to get back to the Angels and the White Sox. News out of the Angels camp. Rhett Bollinger reporting the Angels instituted a new rule this season. Players not allowed to be on their cell phones at their lockers. It's actually banned from the clubhouse at this point. Ron Washington said he did it so the players would interact with each other and bond. Mike Trout, Zach Neto both said it's worked great so far. Fascinating. Here's Ron Washington's quote, one of the quotes. The clubhouse is for veterans on this team. They run it the way they want to run it. We just drop what we would like to have happen with the cell phones, and we want them to make certain it happens inside the clubhouse. It's not punishment. I just want some focus. This is fascinating, Dan. This happens as a number of schools all throughout the country have actually banned cell phones from their students coming in because what they found is people, Dan, you're not even paying attention. Off your cell phone. I'm banning this. Dan.
Oh, I thought we were in commercial.
This is what we're talking about. This is exactly what we're talking about.
I like this. Yeah. In this day and age of technology that we have, and everything is up to the minute, right? Particularly social media, and I think there can be so many distractions, and you become easily distracted. I think what makes it more difficult now as a player than it did when I played is you get instant feedback, right? Most players and most people in business, you're on some form of social media, and whether it's good, whether it's bad, you get feedback. You have a bad performance, you have a bad game, you get ripped, you get blasted, and it's up to the minute, up to the second. And it becomes very easy to walk into a clubhouse, and we've done some games in the past where you walk into a clubhouse and you see that everybody with their back into their locker. Right. There's very little interaction. And some of it is the access to the media is more now than ever, and players are a little reluctant to be themselves. You kind of lose in that clubhouse a feeling of, okay, we're isolated from everybody else. There's bantering, there's joking, and there's stuff going on. And so kind of everybody's on their best behavior. I like this idea. And maybe it's not for every team, but I like it because I think if you want to build some team chemistry and you want to be involved, that when you walk in and you put your phone away, that you're engaged in what you're doing while you're there.
No question. I think this is doing them a favor. I think this is where it's like, look, it's going away. Now, I mean, this mirrors actual society. Like, I just came back from spring training. You're in every airport. Nobody talks to each other. Everybody's just down on their phone. People, you'll see, I'll be out to dinner with my wife. You see couples out on a date. They're both on their phones. You're like, you got to get rid of the phone. And so in a clubhouse, I'm just figuring, you're right. You want the interaction. If you're a shortstop, say I'm a shortstop, you're a relief pitcher. I want to know, force me to actually have a conversation with you, and that will help the team.
In defense of the younger players, let's say players now that are 30 and under, this thing right here has been such a part of their life that it's almost like, I'm sure, I don't know if you feel this, but I do. There are times I've left my house and I'm driving here. I realize I don't have my phone. You're almost in a state of panic. Like, I don't have my phone. Like, you've lost connection of the world. What's going on? And I like it. I think there's a time and a place for it, and I get it. But I do think that it's a good thing that you have interaction with your teammates and you're singularly focused on what you're doing. It's not that hard to put that thing away while you're at work during the course of a day.
In the schools where they've banned cell phones, again, the studies are very early, but they found the attention rates, the test scores, everything goes up. It takes a distraction away from you. You're forced to actually pay attention and engage with the world around you. I think this might catch on.
Now, the key to this, as Ron Washington talked, is you have to have the leaders, the veteran guys, kind of the alphas of the room, make sure that they abide by those rules. You know what I mean? So it starts at the top and it trickles all the way down, then it becomes part of the culture.
Ron Washington went on to say, look, if I'm on my phone, I should get banged as well. I think it's going to be, they're trying to figure out what the penalty will be, like a $500 fine.
They'll have something in kangaroo court. You have your phone out. Guys are saying, no, I was just checking my message. You had your phone out, boom. That'll cost you $10.
Also, right, the worst part is, I've seen this with all athletes. You start checking your reviews, it's almost all bad. There's almost very little that will come from it. Even if everyone says, hey, you're great, there's going to be one person that says you stink, and that will stick in your mind. Why do you want that in your life?
Well, I mean, but the younger crowd, the younger players, that's been a part of their being. That's all they know.
Now it's not.
I've had enough of you.
I'm going 3 minutes. He couldn't take it. He couldn't take engaging anymore. Go back on your phone. We'll take a short break. John Heyman putting this out. Alex Verdugo, a late signing. The Braves signed him up last couple of years with the Yankees, $1.5 million. Before that with the Red Sox, immediately optioned to Gwinnett. That's AAA. He had a major league deal, but the contract stipulations allow one demotion. He's going to start the year. I mean, he's starting quite late. But Verdugo, you see the last couple of years with Boston and then last year with the Yankees, playing full seasons. He was below league average in hitting last year. You see the OPS plus 100 being league average. So it was 83. But defensively, Dan, he is a plus defender. Defensive runs saved, +7 fielding run value. That's the StatCast defensive metric. He's +3. He's a plus arm. it is surprising, and he's one of many different players who are, he's not aging, but he's a player who's just above league average, who's a very late signing.
I mean, can you imagine if you're Verdugo that you thought going into December, he made a little over $8 million last year with the Yankees, gets a $1 million flyer with the Braves on a guy you can make a case was an everyday player for a team that went to the World Series.
Yeah.
I think he's probably as surprised as anybody. And there's some good players that haven't gotten jobs yet, and I know you've got a list of those guys. I'm sure this has come to a little bit of a surprise to him.
To me, he's more than useful. I know he's not the star that many thought he would be, but he's not just a plus defender. In that World Series, he was making outstanding defensive plays. Again, 2 of the last 3 years, he's above league average hitting-wise. I thought he'd be worth a little bit more on the marketplace.
Yeah, and you know what? This gives him a chance to go to a winning team, a winning culture, maybe reestablish his value. If he has a good year, I'm sure this will build on something for him down the road.
Take a look at some of the late signings, guys who have just signed up, and it's puzzling to me, and I think there's some reluctance for whatever reason with general managers. They seem to put out $100 million rather easily, but they will fight tooth and nail on $3 million, $4 million, $5 million. Jose Quintana, 1-year deal, $4 million. He had 170 innings pitched, well above league average for the Mets last year. Jose Iglesias was a great Met last year. He signs with the Padres, James McCann, Craig Kimbrell. Now, obviously, these are, older players. Patrick Corbin has not had a good year in a while, and now Verdugo. But there seems to be a spot that players are caught in, either a certain age or certain level of value, where they're not doing as well as expected.
I think the first two guys on the graphic, and I think you and I were in agreement, you have a guy in Quintana was such a big part of that Mets rotation, particularly in August and September, and had a couple of really good starts in the postseason. And what Iglesias meant to the Mets,
Had a great year.
I get it. Sometimes you look at the metrics, but when you look at Iglesias, this is a guy that hit well over 300. He can play short, he can play second, he can play third base, and it took him a while to find a job. Of all of those guys on the board, Quintana was the biggest shock to me that somebody didn't jump on him right away.